Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Got a gift from BZ. Figured I'd wear it tonight. So nice, isn't it? It's a little dented right there. I gotta fix that. It is August 13th. Man, it is 8 p.m. on the nose. I'm enjoying everybody getting into the chat room. Unpleasant Blind Guy, Canadian Heavy Haul, Mission Ready Men, good evening to all of you. I do have a bourbon in hand tonight. I will be retelling the story from today, so those who saw it on X, shut up. Canadian Heavy Haul, I'll tell you right now, sir, I will let you have the beer tonight. Orty is in the chat. Orty's always first in chat, by the way. Look, I don't hand out the hats. Canada Heavy Haul asked, if you want a hat, contact BZ. You got to contact him directly. I can't control that. Oh, so the story, I'll tell you. You know the song where the lyric goes, it started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? That was pretty much my morning today. So, real quick, because it's funny. It wasn't at the time, but it was funny. It's funny now. I had to do a couple things on my truck. Hey, Ricky Robinson is in the chat room. Good evening, Ricky. Just a couple quick things. On my filler neck, there's a plastic shroud, if you will, that cracked. Now, to take it off, or as I was led to believe, it's 4 screws and then 3 star head screws. You pop it out, pop it in. Bob's your uncle. There you go. Only mine, for some reason, had pop rivets. Didn't know that, didn't realize that. I thought it was going to be pretty quick and easy. So I pop out the 3 stars, I pull it down, and I'm like, okay, I got to drill out the pop rivets. I'll just pop off the filler neck, and I'll take it out and drill them out. Ready to go. I had to work on getting new pop rivets because I don't have a pop rivet gun. But I figured I'd work on that after the fact. So I go underneath, and of course, it can't just be a filler neck. There's a vent tube. There's some sort of EPA filter. There is just electronics hooked up to it. And I said, well, screw that. I'm just going to drill it out laying underneath the truck with the gas fumes right there. I'm going to drill metal. This can't go wrong, right? Fortunately, it went right. I got it drilled out. Contacted a friend. He had the right size pop rivets. Said, I'll be by in a few hours. Great. I go change the oil. It's up on ramps so I can fit under it. Now, I've changed the oil on this thing 25 times out of its 140,000 miles, 142,000. I've done almost all the oil changes. I know how to do it. Set up I get all recycling cardboard and lay it out to catch little drips because I know how this works. It is a long story already, but you're going to have to hold it, bud. As soon as it gets to the last trickle, the wind's going to blow on my street because it always does, and it's going to blow all over the asphalt, and I don't want the driveway. I don't want that. So lay out all of the cardboard, put my catch can under it, same catch can I've always used. Pop open the drain plug, and the oil starts flowing. I adjust the catch can to catch it, and all of a sudden I notice that the catch can is overflowing. The cap on the side of the catch can that you pull to let the oil drain in, somehow the flow of the oil pushed it back into place and it's seated, and now there is probably 1.5 quarts of oil on the ground. So I'm in oil, laying in oil now. I'm pissed, as you could possibly imagine. stuff my finger, stop it, clear the plug outlet, the oil drain, release the oil, let it flow. So I'm mad, right? It's off the cardboard. There's way too much for the cardboard to hold it. It's all over the driveway. I'm gonna have to scrub it and clean it. Now I'm pissed. So I go to change the filter. Now, anyone who owns a Ram, especially the 5.7 Hemi, they'll tell you that the filter is in like one of the worst spots because it's over a whole bunch of framing and suspension, and every single time it just leaks all over the place. Yada yada yada. So I always use either a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag to kind of catch it. Well, the Ziploc bag somehow got a little hole in the end of it, and it now became a funnel, and it was going directly onto yours truly. So this is just going. The day's just going wonderfully now. I'm getting covered even more in oil. I'm already laying in it. I have not accomplished anything that I needed to accomplish. So I get it all out. I clean it up the best I can. I know I'm gonna have to get driveway cleaner. Yada yada yada. I get the 5 because it's 6.9 quarts. 10th goes to the oil filter. So I have 7 quarts all lined up. On the big one, the big 5-quart one, I usually punch a hole in the top so the air breathes and it doesn't burp and kick oil outside the funnel. I went to punch my little knife in to make the hole, and my knife broke. It's just become a comedy of errors. Now, at this point, I should have just walked away, right? Had somebody come finish it, whatever. I'm furious. I'm losing my mind. I'm cussing more than I do on the show. I'm just, and it's hot. It's 90 degrees. I'm in the sun. I am not built for that. So I'm just pissed. I finally get the oil in, cap it. Everything's right. Okay, cool. I go to change the air filter before. Oh no, I back it off the ramps, and then I have this huge mess that I have to clean up. So because my gas neck is hanging down, can't really go driving with that. I didn't think I could have zip tied it up. I probably could have, but so I walk to get a driveway cleaner, which is only a couple blocks away. I get it. I come all the way back. Didn't think to get pop rivets at the hardware store. Could have done it while I was there, but I wasn't that smart and I was still furious. Scrub the whole driveway. Now I'm sweating like a pig. Yet just stupid. I Canada Heavy Haul. I didn't have the right size. Just so we're clear, sir. So now I'm just scrubbing the driveway, hating life, hating everything. I just, have you ever had one of those days where you absolutely could kick a puppy? Like you're just so mad at everything. This has all gone wrong. I've done this a bunch of times, 15 minutes in and out, no drips. I have a system better than Jiffy Lube. So I get it all cleaned up, scrub it, clean it, looks nice. I'm like, oh, I gotta change my air filter. How can that go wrong? Go to the air box. It's 4 tabs. Normally the tabs stay connected to the air box. I pop off the 4th tab and it fucks off across the top of the motor to the other side, and I hear it clank and get caught up in something. Awesome. This is just awesome. Now I have to go find a 1 inch by 2.5 inch piece of metal that's shaped, that's fallen somewhere into the frame of the truck. And yes, I am absolutely venting this right now as part of therapy. So you're all part of my therapy session. Already, Canada Heavy Haul, the Unpleasant Blind Guy, Mission Ready Men, all you guys in chat, part of my therapy. So now I have to get back underneath the truck that's already off the ramp. So now I'm digging and climbing. I finally find it. I hook it up and I get it all back together. When I tell you that I felt like I had just won a one-on-one battle with an MMA fighter because I finally accomplished what I was trying to accomplish. I'm not kidding. My friend Ida on X said you should have a double, so I'm going to have 2 of those. That would be a quadruple. And I am going to now start the show. Thank you, folks, for allowing me to vent to you. Thank you for being part of my therapy session. By the way, I did get the fuel filler neck all set up. My friend came over and we took care of it, and it was quick and it was fine. But yeah, that was my day. So I won't even bring up the fact that my computer was giving me the blue screen of death. It just seems unnecessary at this point. So I got to talk about Gavin Newsom fighting with Trump over what Texas is doing because he wants to run for president in 2028. And that's all this is. An estimated $250 million for this special election because Texas is redistricting mid-decade as they are allowed to per their constitution. Unpleasant Blind Guy, send me the fake bill, please. And he Gavin looks at this like his Super Bowl. This is what he needs to gain momentum to run in 2028. He's running. I don't care what he says now. He's running. He wouldn't be having this fight the way he is having this fight. Now, we've talked about this before on the show, how Democrats have changed their social media approach since the election. They all think that they can now out Trump on social media. Now, the problem is, and what they have yet to figure out when they're telling stories like Schumer and the Baileys, I'll get to that because that's friggin' hysterical. But what they haven't figured out is the reason Trump did so well on social media is because he actually connected to people. He didn't fight to fight, he fought for what people wanted him to fight for. He felt connected. People felt like they were recognized, they were seen, that they were finally being heard after years of conservatives being told to shut up, you're what's wrong with this country, yada, yada, yada. We all remember what happened. So they've all, and I've talked about this before. You have, Swalwell using the word asshole, and that's bullshit and all that other stuff, right? And this is just their new branding. They're like, oh, it worked for him. We're just going to do hollow things and say big words and hope people like us because we're doing what Trump did. Which, by the way, who they're trying to appeal to and who Trump trying to appeal to is entirely different groups of people. So I don't know if even from the word go, that's going to work for you. But this was State Representative David Tangipa, who posted on X, special elections, 200 million, polling, and he's a conservative, polling barely in the low 50s is going to be a hard sell. And the approach of they cheated, so we'll cheat too isn't a winning message. And it isn't even cheating when it's in the Constitution of that state. It's do or die. Dems lose, they waste the money, burn out the base, and set up 2026 for a red wave. Yeah, and Gavin, I don't know if they've already. Part of me already thinks that they've seeded 2026, that they're probably not going to win. Just because they don't have a unified message, they don't have a leader, they don't have anyone standing out, they don't have anything. So there's no reason for this other than Gavin. And as I posted earlier, and they finally opened it up for public comment. For those who don't know, I'm a California resident. I'm held hostage here for a reason. And I submitted a public comment. And my public comment essentially went through everything I just said. Hey, we're spending all this money. This is clearly politically motivated. And we're not losing just because, as a state, just because Texas is redistricting and may gain seats. This is stupid. And it is. But this is Gavin's Hail Mary. This is what he is going to run on. The flip side of that is if this fails miserably, which I believe it will, if I'm being honest, he's done. He's out. This is going to be it. If it doesn't work for him here, he's got nothing to run on. The rest of California is a entire shit show, even the liberals. So for him to do this now, this is it. So, oh, and the other thing too, and if you don't follow Jennifer Van Larvick, especially for California politics, she puts out so much great information. She posted a thing from ProPublica who is doing the redesign, the redistricting map, and he's a huge liberal, and his wife is the CEO of Planned Parenthood. But I want to show you some of the stuff that Gavin's, and by the way, so Gavin Newsom is not tweeting all of this stuff out. Just so you know, we all know Trump tweets. We all know that Trump is the tweeter. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes you're like, why'd you send that out? But he's the one running it. Gavin is not tweeting. I don't know who it is per se, but I think it's this guy, Brandon, that works in his communication. And this is only my hypothesis. I don't know this for sure, but it's Brandon Richards, who is his press person. But he's starting to tweet out things like this. And by the way, this isn't how Gavin talks. He's talking about DeSantis, who's talking about gerrymandering. This is the Governor Newsom press office. By the way, this is the official press office of the governor. This is an official office. The thirst queen has emerged. We will not be lectured on democracy by someone who lost to a cartoon mouse with gloves on. First and foremost, DeSantis didn't lose outright. That's just BS. But that tone, that sort of like childish, that's not Gavin. Because it's not that slimy Gavin Newsom approach to conversation. Gavin Newsom's slimy. You've heard him talk. He's just constantly trying. You feel dirty after one of his speeches and interviews, right? You feel gross. And these posts, it's nothing like that whatsoever. And then somebody else, and I actually know it was Jen Van Leer again who reposted this. She said, this little outlet here, this little account from the Republic Signal, whatever that is, less than 250 followers, only started in August, and all of a sudden Gavin Newsom is retweeting this post. Scoop, we're told Gavin Newsom, the California congressional delegation and the California legislature will gather in LA tomorrow at 11:30 for a high-profile press conference. How? Who is this Republic Signal? And it's just the Truth First, and it's all liberal crap, right? I mean, you go down and it's all liberal. It's Beto, the guy who's never won an election that's telling everybody how to win an election, yada, yada, yada. And you just have to be curious. And then somebody, and let me see, I have it right here. They hit the nail on the head. I got to find it because Jen reposted it, and I want to make sure I give credit where it's due. At California Corey U posted that the Republic Signal is using the same logo as Gavin Newsom's PAC that he has, Campaign for Democracy. And it's just a completely, I think she called it a sock account. I don't know what that means, but it's a fabricated account trying to seem as an individual. It's a bot account. It's probably run by the same kid that's doing all of his other social media. But when was the last time you saw Gavin Newsom post about Drudge Report? You have to look beyond in all of this. You have to look at what's really happening. This is not Gavin Newsom. This is not how he talks. This is not who he is. This is the 20-something-year-old comms professional, so to speak, that's making a ton of money, that's running all of these multiple accounts. And I'll tell you right now, I see a lot of liberals who aren't thrilled with what's being posted from Newsom. I see a lot of it. They're all, this is all the Democrats are. That's my point of this whole thing. It's all fake. It's all not real. It is all made up bullshit to try to convince you that they're doing something. They have no message. They have no true leaders. They have no direction. And everything they touch has turned into a shit show. Newsom specifically has turned the entire state of California a shit show. We thought it was bad under Moonbeam. Newsom said, hold my hair gel. I mean, it's just ridiculous right now. I honestly, and I could be wrong, I don't see how the midterms go well. Look at what Tulsi Gabbard released today. And by the way, I'll talk about Swalwell's response. If you look at this report here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I've already done a lot of long, boring stuff. But it's just more evidence that everybody in the Obama administration knew what was going on and what they're doing. And instead of just like shutting up, that's the one thing that kills me is they don't know how to shut up. Because when you're caught, when you're against the wall, when you are, the best thing for you to do is to just shut up and go away. But they can't. Here's another one here. Let me get down to it. Oh, this is actually going back to the Gavin Newsom thing. Bite Me Harder. Great. It's a great X name. Posted this. And it's all the different accounts who are replying the exact same comments today on Governor Newsom's press office account. That name Brandon right there, he thinks is a Rudo. But the point is, these are all bots. They're using bot accounts to prove their point. And it's insane to me that more and more people aren't talking about just how empty suited all of Newsom is. This other post from the press office, Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, nobody calls him that. The taco thing they still want to catch, but it won't. Missed the deadline because they put out an ultimatum that he had to respond by a certain time, like there's anything that Newsom can do to him. And will now draw new, more beautiful maps that will be historic as they will end the Trump presidency. Dems take back the House. Big press conference this week with powerful Dems and Gavin Newsom, your favorite governor, that will be devastating for MAGA. Thank you for attention on this matter. By the way, a little jerk stole my trick because when Trump was doing that, I was ending all my tweets like that when I was responding to Democrats. That's neither here nor there. So yeah, Catherine Herridge also released some more of the whistleblower stuff to go back to Swalwell. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump all around, but as I scroll down, I remember that one was there. And I have new obtained information, the declassified FBI interview summary from 2017. So this was done in 2017. This is more information about the Schiff leak story that I talked about Monday night. The report by the FBI was done in 2017. As I brought up Monday evening, who was in charge of 2017? We know who's in charge of the FBI, the DOJ, who's in, they were not Trump lovers. They were anti-Trumpers. We know that. Page, Strzok, all of that stuff. So this was reported to 2017 on the whistleblower, and it was put away. It was hidden. It was deep hidden. You never heard about it. Did you ever hear about this story? Did this story ever make it to the headlines? Was there an investigation done? No. This was the person who was on the DNC committee for 10 years. I forget which one. I think it was the Intel committee, who worked for, Intelligence Leak, who worked for them for 10 years, who were in the meetings when Schiff and now Swalwell were talking about releasing classified information that could possibly make Trump look bad. So Swalwell responds, this whistleblower made this bullshit up when Trump was president. Yeah, Trump was president. He had no reason under Biden to make this shit up. You weren't going after Biden. You weren't going after Obama. You weren't going after anybody except for Trump. So there's no reason for you to have said something or done something like this before Trump was in office. So naturally, 2017, when the Russia collusion thing was going, you now had motivation to leak something. And by the way, you're the same guy who banged a Chinese spy, and the same FBI investigated it and said, oh no, Swalwell did nothing wrong. But they found this in the burn bag. This is the one that Kash Patel talked about. This was all stuff that was supposed to be destroyed and hidden forever. That was being under Comey's FBI. There's no reason for him to have made up something before this. No, he said, this is wrong. This is treasonous. And as much as probably I don't like Trump, this isn't right. And went and made a report, and the FBI fucking sat on it. To go on with the Swalwell quote. If they had anything, they would have indicted me. No, because Comey wasn't indicting anyway. He wasn't doing any of the investigations. Everything was being hidden. Trump would have done anything to destroy me if he could have had to, if he knew about it. And by the way, just so you know, Eric, you're really not that big of a player. They don't really worry about you. You're a joke more than anything to Trump and most more important people in politics. You're a joke to us. You're a representative who is a fucking joke of a human being. You are a comedy act. Nobody takes you seriously. That doesn't mean that you can't do seriously illegal shit. They didn't indict me, therefore they had nothing. What's next? Okay. So what happens when he does get indicted now? What because it's looking that way. I mean, I know we're waiting for them to indict anybody. Brennan, the whole group, Obama, they're not gonna be able to touch, but everybody else, there's a potential. So we're hoping they do it. Now, everyone who says, oh, there's enough evidence, they should be okay, this is probably enough probable cause, but you want to make sure that you go through this with a fine-tooth comb, because if you present something and one thing's out of place and it gets thrown out of court because of a stupid typo or something was forgotten, then you lose the whole case. So no, I don't need it right away. I just need something to fucking happen. Who else? I'm going to talk about DC and all of that. It's amazing to me how many people would prefer people die and get murdered. We got it, what, 6 minutes for the break. This is funny to me. Did you see this headline? The DNC rips J.D. Vance for fishing with British Foreign Secretary in latest bizarre attack. Republicans hit back. First and foremost, I don't know why the DNC doesn't like seeing a white guy and a black guy hanging out fishing and why that bothers them so much. And yeah, we forget that there was a time in politics where even if you disagreed with somebody or you didn't like them or they're adversarial as a country or as a nation, that you could still find common ground and maybe, just maybe, start making progress, right? Or when you go to a foreign country and you meet with foreign dignitaries and leadership in their country and they want to hang out with you and play golf or go fishing or whatever, 95% of the time, that's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that something's wrong. We forget the Tip O'Neill Reagan relationship. We forget all of that stuff. You can still stand your ground, stand your beliefs, stand your politics, and disagree with somebody and not have to always treat them like a jerk. Now, if they ask for it, like Swalwell does, then yeah, by all means, let's go. But they make a big deal over the sitting vice president who's vacationing in London or England, Britain, hanging out with the British foreign secretary. And they slammed him for it. Why? Now, I hope he's having conversations like, what are you going to do about the free speech over here? What are you thinking about your immigration crisis, right? Hopefully they're being productive. But let's just say they're fishing. Maybe they didn't talk about anything. Maybe they talked about raising kids and hanging out. Or maybe they just told funny stories. And there was some company that spent a shitload of money putting up memes of J.D. Vance. What was it? Just last week, J.D. Vance said he thinks the memes are absolutely hysterical. It's just so weird how deranged leftists truly are. And, I was thinking about this today when I'm talking about Democrats, and we'll get into some more stuff on the other side of the break. But you remember when you were growing up, there was like that one or two weird uncle, a weird guy that was always like in your periphery. Like he dressed with the super bizarre flowery shirts or wore weird clothes or said weird things and just like was out there, but he wasn't really like friends, but he always showed up at like events, like, and that was that group's like one weird guy. We're like, oh, that's the weird guy. That's Bob. He always does that. That's, he always shows up with curlers in his hair, some weird thing to make himself stand out. There was always like a small population of those people. Now that's 80% of the left. They've become that weird guy who has to dress different, who has to say off the wall shit, who has like unbelievable crazy conspiracy theories and never really makes a point or makes sense. They just relent and go on and on. Kind of like me telling a story about my truck. But that is what the Democrats have turned into. That is at least the ones they show on TV, the ones who out themselves on social media. They've become the party of weirdos. And they're saying, like I said, their leaders are saying things like this. And Beto O'Rourke is a loser, but he has some sort of prominence amongst the left for some reason. The guy's never won anything, but he's saying shit like this.
We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena. And the other side is just clobbering the shit out of us, just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts. And we're kind of throwing our hands up and we're asking the crowd, the people of America, hey, do you see what's going on here? This is unfair. This isn't the rules that we agreed to play by. Well, who cares about the fucking rules right now? Punch back, kick back,
Violence.
jump over their heads. And
use violence. You know, it's funny. Who was it this week? Somebody said, one Democrat said, oh, I miss the Boehner and Paul Ryan. Yeah, because you could run all over them. If you had an opponent who laid down and did everything you wanted to, of course you'd miss them, opposed to somebody who actually stands up against you. But the left is currently where conservatives were 10 years ago, maybe a little longer. Remember how nobody in the Republican Party had a set of balls, how they agreed with everything, how they just laid down and got along to get along. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be rude. That doesn't mean you have to be mean, but they didn't stand up for principles, or they would always just give in at the last minute. That's where the Democrats feel like they're at right now. Now, they're not. The problem is they don't know what they're fighting for other than power. They're not fighting for a message. They're not fighting to make something better. No, they're just fighting for power. The power they never thought they were going to lose, which is why they were going to leak classified documents and everything else. It's amazingly pathetic, in my humble opinion. You take a break.
Welcome to Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch Reaver of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Motherfucker! Oh! 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 It's fucking gun! It's fucking gun! Motherfucker!
In case you're wondering how it's going in DC, there you go. So, Beta O'Rourke is my favorite name for Beto. Oh, so people are still freaking out over what's going on in DC, even though you have some people on the left who've actually said shit like, you know, maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world. Where is it? I have, and there is no thrill going up his leg. I have Chris Matthews on MSNBC who said why Democrats are really fucking this whole thing with DC up. Here it is. Watch this.
rate. You can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap. Yes, it's a trap. I mean, if it's not a winner politically to say, oh, you're wrong, look at the data. Because, if one violent crime happens in a very heavily populated part of the city, people hear about it and it's visceral. They don't want it. And they'll gravitate to the person who appears to be doing something about.
That is the most intelligent thing that Mika has ever said, I think, on that show. Honestly, I think that is the smartest thing she's ever said. And they're both right. The Democrats trying to hide. We talked Monday night. Orty, that dude went to jail dressed like that. Yeah, he did. Oh, God. He threw a sub. Who the hell throws a sub? This tells you just how out of their freaking minds they are. Trying to blame this, big balls got beat up and now all of a sudden this is because Trump had big balls and now he's doing all this because of big balls. Just stop it. That's not what this is. And Trump has said for years it's a shame that our nation's capital is so crime-ridden, dirty, and defunct. And we talked about Monday night. It's legal. Everything he's doing is legal. That's why they're not really fighting it legally. They're bitching about it. I already saw, who was it? Some mayor somewhere else. I don't think it was Chicago, but who said, well, you notice he's only going after the black mayors and the black leaders. No, he's going after liberal cities. When he's talking about high crime in our cities, he's talking about liberal cities that have high crime. Why do they have crime? Because they have soft on crime policies. That's plain and simple. Soft on crime policies have destroyed many big cities, which is why so many of them are quietly starting to go back the other way. And it does happen. But people still are just so unbelievably entrenched into this idea that you can be lawless, entirely lawless. This was last night in DC. Watch this. This is a woman who tries to grab a cop's gun. And got smacked down for it. Everyone's saying, whoa, 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 whoa. No. If you see right here, where is it? Hold on. Look at her left hand. Look at her left hand and look at what the cop does after he pushes her away. He puts his right elbow over his gun. He is protecting it. You know why? Because his gun moved during that interaction and his little red light went on in his head and said, oh shit, I got to do firearm retention. I got to lean on it. I got to make sure it's okay. I got to make sure she didn't get it. And they want to complain that cops are brutal and cops are ruthless and cops. No, they're in the middle of an arrest. You have 7, 8 some odd officers fully uniformed arresting somebody. And these cities have gotten so used to being able to shit on cops and attack cops that they just rush right in. And we saw this with a lot of the ICE raids too. This used to not happen. Even back when crime was really, really bad, usually when the cops showed up, people ran because they didn't want to go to jail. Now they're not afraid to go to jail. If I had the Admiral Akbar sound clip queued up, I would have played it. But that's exactly what's happening. And now they're going to be shocked. And apparently, I've watched a lot of social media from people in DC from today who said it's different. The last couple of days, it's different. Not perfect, but just the feel that people get in DC is different. And then something happens. It's always amazing how when they deny, the Democrats are the best at denying something, and then within 24, 48 hours, something horrific or something happens to prove the point against them. They're saying, oh, crime's down. This isn't a big deal. They're overreacting. He's sending all these cops, which he can legally do. DC, outside of the residential area, I mean, all of DC is in fact under federal control at the end of the day. They don't have 10th Amendment protection. They're not a state. They got their mayor in like 1972 in their city council. Other than that, it was run from the federal government for the most part. And the federal government at any point can step in and say, yeah, we're doing this now. That's why they're in charge of the DC police. There are some provisions, yes, but overall, the federal government still has total control. So they're all in the news saying that crime's not bad and you're overreacting, especially in DC. Do you know who Harmeet Dillon is? She was a civil rights attorney, and now she's an assistant attorney general in the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice. And she's a bulldog. I mean, she is, I'll tell you right now, if I had a civil rights issue, she would be one of the people that I hope would show up to defend me and take care of me. She was robbed, or attempted robbery, I should say, by a homeless person. It was witnessed by a reporter. And she even had to say that. For everyone who says this didn't happen, I have a reporter that witnessed it. This absolutely happened. An assistant attorney general with the Department of Justice and the federal government in DC was a victim of an attempted robbery. A day into them saying, oh, there's no crime going on in DC. I said on social media, how anti-Trump, orange man bad, blind do you have to be to root for murder, crime, and chaos? If you are a major city, if you're a big city and you know you have these problems, yes, you've played the race card for years. Yes, you've thrown all this bullshit out about equal justice that time and again in the last 20 years has not been proven at all. Cops shoot unarmed black men all the time. No, they actually shoot white people more. Like, the statistics haven't worked against it, but they use that because they want to emotionally hijack people into their cause. But at the end of the day, you know your city is shit. So when the federal government shows up and says, hey, we're willing to help you out with that because that'll make your city nicer, make things nicer for us, bad people will go away. You can even blame us for it. That way it goes federal. You don't even have to deal with your attorney general. You can go out there and just say the whole like, oh, the federal government did this. If you have any questions, go to them, yada, yada, yada. But you don't. You fight against it. I'll tell you right now, and this is just pretend crime was bills, right? Each crime was another bill you had to pay. And somebody showed up and said, hey, I want to give you a bunch of money to help you pay those bills. Well, why would you say no to that? Especially when you can say, these are now federal charges, refer any questions to the federal government. Hey, those are federal agents, refer any questions to the federal government. But they don't, because they want to run against this. They're so caught into the orange man bad mentality is that anything that they do, that he does, that his administration does, they immediately have to push back on. You could be a smart politician. You could say something somewhere in the middle. Or you could be in this guy and worry about something that's not even an issue right now. Watch this. Oh, hold on.
I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here. And a relatively small crime problem is being used
not relatively small
for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about DC does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go with January 6th, where the Capitol police officer shot and killed an unarmed woman. You're right. That was bad. But more than one homicide has happened on some days in DC. The point is, when you look like an idiot when you try to sidestep the problem that's going on in DC. When I have a graph here somewhere, a crime stat. He essentially says if you're 18 to 24, you're charged either as a juvenile or your case is otherwise thrown out in DC. That's like 75% of those criteria. If you're in that age group and it's not a gun felony, it's either dropped down, you're charged as a juvenile essentially, or it's thrown out. You wonder why crime is down? That's why crime is down. And I know BZ talked about it. I talked about it Monday night. This is what happens when you just cook the books, right? But this is what a lot of cities do. They have to. And when you're run by a genius who gets asked a question, how does this affect your chain of command? And she is the police chief and says, what do you mean by chain of command? It's a chain of command. Are you now the top tier, or is there somebody over you? Do you answer to somebody while the federal government is now in charge of the District of Columbia Police? It's a simple question. And she's like, well, what is a chain of command? And the Babylon Bee, who I adore, the Babylon Bee, puts this out. Puzzled DC police chief asks reporter, what is this black and white car that goes wee woo, wee woo? But it's true. Like, I don't know. I know what happened. DEI happened, and you had a whole bunch of cities who turned around and said, we want to hire this person so we can say we were the first to do this or the first to do that. And it doesn't really matter if they're not a good leader, or they don't have a backbone, or they don't have the real, like, the wherewithal to do it. Maybe they were like an administrative district chief somewhere that never dealt with crime or was on the street, but did more like getting grants and maybe like hiring and stuff like that. When you take that person who's really not qualified, and I'm not saying this specific chief, but we've seen this with a lot of other cities, and you all of a sudden say, oh, you check all the boxes, Kamala, we are going to promote you to chief of police, and then there's going to be a big deal about it, and there's going to be press and headlines, and we're going to be the city that does blah, blah, blah. This is what you get. You get departments that don't know how to be run. You get terrible leadership. They don't support their troops because they don't know what their troops need, and your city goes to shit. And side note, because I've experienced this, usually those police chiefs are incredible micromanagers and have zero fucking clue what needs to be done on the street. And how do we get there? How do we get to this point in life where post 9/11 cities are hiring police chiefs who don't deal with anything serious whatsoever or know how to deal with anything serious? Well, you get there because people like this that I'm about to show you vote. And they walk around just like you and me and consume air just like you and me. Here's this little angel.
Fuck is the point of being here? If we can't have basic, decent human decency, what the fuck is the point of fucking being here? Why are you guys okay with black people being murdered and brown people being deported and Asian people having acid thrown in their face and people?
First and foremost, I haven't heard about too many Asian attacks. I have heard of some racism towards Asians, but you don't want to talk about who was the ones doing it. Black people getting murdered, sweetheart, happens by and large by other black people. As I said before, the whole cops shoot unarmed black people all the time myth is a lie. Has it happened? Yes. Has it happened on the level where we need to have complete country outrage? No. Brown people getting deported, sister, I don't know if you know this, but there's Asian people getting deported. There's Eastern European people getting deported. There's Middle Easterns being deported. A lot of the deportees, and by the way, when they say brown people, they mean Mexicans. They don't mean all the other brown people because they're not smart enough to figure that out. But they're not, they're Venezuelans, they're Central Americans, they're El Salvadorians, they're Guatemalans, yada, yada, yada. So when you're throwing all of that out, you really are proving you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. But go ahead and go on, sister.
People being starved to death in Palestine, like death to you fucking idiots. Cause what?
The Palestine thing, Mission Ready Men. Why don't we want to talk about it? I'll talk about anything, you know that, but you also know they don't want to talk about the facts. That's what it really comes down to. So the whole Palestine thing, is life really shitty for Palestinians right now? Yeah. Did Hamas cause that? Yeah. Does Hamas continue to cause that? Yeah. You don't get to go into cities and towns and rape, murder, and kill everybody, and then run and hide back to your slum, hide in hospitals and schools, and expect to get away with it. You know why Israel's going as far as they are right now? Because all the other times they haven't led up to October 7th. And I don't care how you feel about Israel or Netanyahu, whatever, throw all that out. For years, they were allowing Palestinians more and more into Israel, work visas. They were giving them more on the other side. They were allowing them to be part of the country. And then October 7th happened again. Part of the reason October 7th happened is because they were getting so comfortable with Palestinians that they ignored what Hamas was going to do. They missed intel about it. And then October 7th happened. And guess what? At some point, as a people, you get sick and tired of being raped, murdered, and killed. It is significantly, Ordy, thank you. Yeah, the West Bank, who is not run by Hamas, is significantly less shitty. Keep that in mind. And then, by the way, when Hamas releases, because I know Unpleasant Blind Guy just posted this, free gall. When Hamas releases a video of the hostages they're still keeping. And they're absolutely looking horrible, doing forced labor and absolutely horribly skinny and obviously underfed, undernourished, and not taken care of, which is a war crime, by the way. You're still going to defend them, but I digress. Sweetheart, please continue.
What?
By the way, this is how I was reacting to my truck earlier today. I very much had her same emotional state.
She agrees.
The only
what
good
the
part of this
fuck
video
are we
was the
doing
dog.
as humans? Oh my God.
What were they doing as humans?
I don't get it. I don't get it. What the
You don't
fuck
get it
is
really
the
simply
point of
because you don't
being
want to
here?
get it. You won't get it because you have been lied to for years and told it was gospel, that it was factual, that it was true. You were only shown one side by media for the last 20 years. And we know that's a thing now because of the internet, and social media recently has been able to prove that more and more. The problem isn't that we're horrible people. The real problem is that you have been lied to your entire life and you're indoctrinated. By the way, earlier I mentioned that I had a graph, and Byron Donalds was the one that posted this because he's trying to pass a bill in for specifically in DC Crimes Act, that if you're over 18, you get charged as an adult mandatory. And here's that graph I was talking to you about. Should adults 18 to 24 receive youth prison sentences? It was voted yes. If you're under 25 and commit a crime, you're not charged as an adult. So before everybody jumps on, not obviously the very nice people in chat, but everyone jumps on and goes, oh, you said there was a graph. You didn't have a graph. Where's your proof? Where's your proof? There it is, dipshit. There it is. So now I get 8 minutes left. I had a whole bunch more to talk to, but I cannot ignore the Bailey controversy. Ladies and gentlemen, John Oliver, who pretends to be an American, he used to be the Daily Show host, and now he does this Last Week Tonight on HBO. He's an utterly, mostly underwhelming comedian, but I will give him this as freaking hysterical. He has outed the fact that Chuck Schumer's friends, the Baileys, do not exist. I'll talk about it as we go. I only get a few minutes, but yeah, the Baileys. You remember the Baileys? It's the one that Chuck wrote in his book. The book had 54 pages, and he mentioned them 255 times. Yeah. So watch this.
I actually want to talk less about Chuck Schumer himself and more about two of his favorite people, Joe and Eileen Bailey. They're a couple that throughout Schumer's career, he has talked about a lot.
They're a middle-class couple in Massapequa, which is a suburb on Long Island.
Joe and Eileen Bailey, this middle-class couple, they bought into Reagan Republicanism in 1980. Joe and
Eileen Bailey
are worried about losing their jobs or their friends' jobs.
The Baileys really don't believe in trickle down. They don't believe in a whole lot of government spending, but they believe in tax breaks for kids to go.
So he has these friends, the Baileys. The Baileys are these Reagan conservatives who agree with him on everything somehow. Just so you understand, that's the entire history.
Go to college. He's an insurance adjuster and lives in the New York suburbs. By New York standards, he makes $50,000 a year. If he lived in the middle of the country, he'd make 40. Wife works in a medical office.
Well, the cost of living was different in the middle of the country,
but she makes about 20. She might make 15 elsewhere. And you know, I have guided my political life through the Baileys.
Okay, first, Chuck, stop putting all their business out there. Joe makes $50,000 a year. Eileen makes 20. They own 2 cars, a Taurus and a Honda Odyssey, and they have sex 3 times a week. Joe usually initiates, but their therapist is encouraging Eileen to get more in touch with her sensual side and surprise Joe with some sexy lingerie when he gets home from insurance adjusting, which again pays him $50,000. But you heard him. The Baileys have guided Chuck Schumer's political life, which is a little weird given they don't exist.
Yes.
Seriously, he invented them. Schumer first introduced the world to the Baileys in his 2007 book, Positively American, Winning Back the Middle Class Majority, One Family at a Time. In it, he mentions the Baileys an astonishing 265 times in 264 pages. But he'd apparently been talking about them for years before the book was published. One of his former...
So it goes on and on, but he outs it. He outs the fact that the Baileys don't exist. And when I talked to you earlier about how the left is hollow and how they don't actually reach people, they just create things and they act like they know stuff. And this is an example. Chuck Schumer has been relying on these people for years as the Baileys, as his friends, these close personal friends that don't exist. All of the stories, bullshit. All of well, these people were really, they're Republicans, but they agree with me on this, and they're Republicans, but they agree. All of it was fake. Just like the rest of just like Gavin and his tweets and his posts and what he's saying he's trying to do. Just like everything that's going on with DC. Well, the crime's not high. The crime's low. It's not as bad as it is. There's only so many murders, and it's really not a lot of murders. I mean, it's just young kids dying left and right. Most of them happen in this 10 square mile area that are now being enforced, but who cares? If it's just crime's down. Look, shoplifting's down. Well, you don't prosecute it anymore. Yeah, so it's down. Oh, the Baileys. They've been my political guidance my entire life. He just admitted all of his political guidance was bullshit. It's as real as him barbecuing a hamburger. Because that's what the left is. It's hollow. It's horrible. Orty, that may not be I can't disagree with that. I really can't. But that's what the left is. So when I come out here and we poke holes in all of that and say, yeah, you say this, but you do this and you say that. When you have Adam Schiff, who now has clearly, and I mean clearly, wanted to leak classified information and go after Trump, but he posted this back in 2023. The leak of classified information is a threat to national security, stains our relationship, and limits our intelligence others are willing to share. Our investigation must be undertaken. Those responsible must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. It's all bullshit. It's all hollow. It's all imaginary. It's all they do. It is all that they are. They keep talking about, we could get to this imaginary place if we just had power. We could do this if we just had power. As soon as the Democrats get out of power, when they get into power, they run towards socialism. We've seen that since Obama, especially, right? As soon as they get power, everything falls under the tenets of democratic socialism. They run to the left. As soon as they're not in power, they start throwing out these imaginary unicorn farts, smell like chocolate and candy, and it's going to be this great place if you just give it to us back. And then when they get power, they run harder to the left. Or as we saw with Biden, a whole unelected cabal of people run the country even though they weren't elected because he's a drooling moron. And that's the point of this whole show. And I know we talk about all the time, oh, they're bullshit, they're bullshit. But can anybody out there tell me what their true message is? Can anyone tell me what direction they want to go? Can anyone tell me what ideas they have to fix things? to fix things for American people? Can anyone do that? And the answer is no, because it's not out there. It's all hyperbole and what ifs and if I possibly and possibly maybe and the Baileys and all that other bullshit. At the end of the day, there are a lot of Republicans that do that too, and I don't care for them. But there are those ones out there who are actually working to do something. Yes, the big, beautiful bill spent a lot of money, but for once, it was a lot fucking less money than we've spent in years, and nobody talks about that. I don't know if you've ever met somebody with an addiction issue, but cold turkey don't always work great. And it would have been hard on our economy, honestly. There are other reasons, and I'm not saying that it was the best answer, but I'm saying that there is at least some sort of tangible reasons. The left has zero tangible reasons. The left has zero future, and they don't have any sort of vision for this country that doesn't include government-run grocery stores, giving up private property, spending more money than we make, and saddling your children in a much worse place than we could ever possibly imagine. Folks, that's going to be it for me. I'll be back Monday. Make sure you check out our great friends over at KLRN, who always represent when I'm on the air, and I appreciate it. Some wonderful shows over there. Check out Ordy. He's pretty awesome. Every Monday and Friday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 East Coast, you have Reverb Common Sense right here on the SHR Media Network with my buddy Jersey Joe at the helm. And Tuesday and Thursday nights, The Saloon, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, with the rotund one himself, BZ. And of course, Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 on the Pacific Coast, noon on the East Coast. You have Mission Ready Men, who has rebranded. He's got a great new logo. I love to see it. He's an old buddy of mine. Make sure you check him out. And make sure you check us out, shrmedia.com. Please like and subscribe if you liked anything in this show, or if you didn't like it and you want to come back each week and harass me through chat, that would be a fantastic way to do it as well. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. Here's to you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Ever tell you, have a great night.